Pecou, WRFG 89.3 FM. Yes, you know where you at. InI Radio right here on WRFG. This is how we do every Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Right here for you, the Friday edition of Soul Rhapsody. And yes, this is how we get down. Thank you all who have called in and let us know you're jamming with us, that you're loving the music, you're loving the information and the energy that come through. And look who I have in studio. It's a surprise for me because I thought he was coming next week, but he's here. He is here. Fahamu Pecou is in the building.
What's up, Atlanta? What's up?
Yes. Artist, scholar artist. That's a great combination, you know, because I love the idea of intelligence in art.
Well, you know, I try to tell people all the time, you know, it's especially imperative in this day and age that as a people, as Black people, we realize that our art was never entertainment. It was never simply entertainment. It's magic. It's medicine. You know, and so to, you know, put any form of intelligence or any form of thought or consideration into your art is a necessity. It's like, you know, it's like trying to, you know, make a pot of grits without boiling the water first. You know what I'm saying? Like you need all of those elements to really make it what it is. So. All
right. Well, you know, your work speaks for itself. While we're speaking and while we're talking to you, is there a place that people can surf the web and see exactly what's going on with your art?
Yeah, most certainly. My website is fahamupecouart.com. That's FAHAMUPECOUART.com. And you can find me on all the social media channels as well. So.
Yes. And see, when you see a visual artist, you know, do the work that you do and get really recognized as much as you have, that says a lot. You know, because there's a lot of visual artists out here, you know, and so you're making history in a way, you know what I mean? Because when you look back and you study artists and you look at in history, you know, when you do your art, you know what I mean, your history as far as art goes, you know, when you go to school and learn about artists, you know, the history of art is very important, and people who artists in history are very important and notable, you know, and so your style is, as far as I've seen, and as well, like I said, the way that you've been able to be recognized and get your art out there, it is so important and relevant, you know. And so talk to me about, you know, what your goals have been. You know what I mean? Like, did you wake up one day, or were you little and say, you know, I want to do this and I want to, you know, like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm certainly grateful for all of the recognition, and the journey has been a great journey. I mean, you know, my work has literally taken me around the world. And yeah, I mean, as a child, you know, one of the first things that I ever fell in love with was art. You know, from the time I could hold a pencil, I was drawing and, you know, making art. And I knew from an early age that I wanted to be an artist. I didn't know exactly how, you know, to go about doing that, because it's not like, you know, you go fill out an application and you become an artist. You know, it's not that.
Right.
You know, so I had my ups and downs, my trials and challenges, but, you know, ultimately I found my rhythm. And, you know, it's something that I would like to share to any young or aspiring artists that are listening now, because people ask me all the time, like, you know, how do you know, get your work out there? Like, what kinds of things, you know, do you do? Like, how did you get on? How did you get put on? And, you know, it's like I said, the career of an artist is not one that is like, you know, there's a prescription for it. It's not like, you know, you do step 1, step 2, step 3. You know, it really takes work and takes dedication and commitment. And you can't be weak-hearted, you know, about it, because you'll probably have a lot more setbacks than victories, you know, before you really get to where you want to be. You know, we're talking now about the work that I have, and, you know, my recent book that just was released last fall called Visible Man, you know, kind of chronicles my career, but, you know, I'm at, you know, more than 20 years in this career, and it's really just now, you know, in a place where, you know, this is my life, you know. I've had to do other things to supplement my life, you know, along the way, but, it took 20 years to get to this point, but it takes work, it takes dedication.
And we were just talking about that, the consistency, that dedication, that consistency, that drive, that knowing of your purpose in a certain way, where you know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm going to sacrifice and deal with this, and I'm going to focus on this. And so, like you said, 20 years, and you just start to get to a place. But it's just like we enjoy the journey. When you enjoying what you're doing, it's not, those years, it's just a part of the journey. Yeah, and we give thanks for all of it.
I'm grateful for things like social media to allow for people to see that journey, to see behind the scenes, to see the things, the steps that it takes, to get from point A to point B. Because oftentimes, when we think about people who are in the public spotlight, celebrities, we just see them when they appear on television or when they appear in magazines. We don't see the years of work and the training behind the scenes.
That's right.
That it took for them to get to that point. So I'm grateful for things like social media, where if you follow me on social media, you see I'm very transparent. About my life, about my process in terms of my work, and so it's a great way to share and to show again, those people who are young and inspiring and looking to maybe be an artist one day, or have an opportunity to show their work, the things that it takes to get there. So,
So I know you have exhibitions, you have traveling exhibitions, you have the book you just released, like you just mentioned, Visible Man, and shows opening in New York. You doing it up, and then we're the short film that's going to be featured at the BobFest Film Festival at the Auburn Research Library, Saturday, February 17th.
That's correct.
That's right. And so, yes, I'm going to be being a part of that and doing some hosting for the film festival as well. There's going to be an award. You're going to be doing you're going to be like a guest host.
So we'll be presenting a special award, and I'll get to introduce my short film, which I'm really excited about. The film is called Emmett Still, and I filmed it in 2016 here in Atlanta. It's a part of a larger body of work, an exhibition called Do or Die, which is a traveling exhibition that will be in Atlanta in 2019. But Emmett Still will be screened for the first time here in the city of Atlanta during the BobFest event at the Auburn Avenue Library on the 17th. So really looking forward to presenting this film to the greater Atlanta community, and being able to share a little bit about the process of creating a film and the story behind it, because I think it's a really powerful and important story that continues to be a touchy point of consideration in our contemporary society.
So now you're doing filmmaking.
Well, my work has always moved across the spectrum of expression. So, in addition, to the film, I've also recorded albums, hip hop music. I do performance art.
What kind of performance art?
Performance art associated with my paintings. So often, in fact, the character in my paintings is I consider a form of performance. Because I'm kind of taking on various stereotypes and ideas around Black masculinity and critiquing them or performing them in my paintings and in my other works. And so that, my work, like I said, it's never, I never allow my medium to dictate, how I'm going to express myself. Rather, I think about the idea and what's the best way to express this idea, and then that will determine what medium I use.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me and joining us here on InI Radio.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, and I want to ask you one more thing, like, if because my son is a visual artist,
okay,
and so it can be challenging keeping him focused on finishing high school and academics because he's such an artistic space cadet. I mean, he's just, really focused on creating and wanting to draw and make comic books and animate and make games and, and he makes beats now. And, I really like his skill set. I'm an artist. I understand it. But at the same time, it's a balance for him, to be able to do the things he's supposed to do, have to do, but at the same time, keep that fire for wanting to do that art. And being a mother is challenging because I support it, but at the same time, I have to, it feels like I'm forcing him to get out of his nature or something and keeping him balanced. So what would you tell young people, or what message would you relay to young people who are artists and who really, just have that same purpose?
Yeah, I think it's important, and maybe even more than that, imperative, that within our education system and, as parents of children, that we help our children see the correlation between education and between creative expression. There's no line, there's no demarcation, but our society has created that. Like school is school and art is art. Like art is something frivolous or something on the side, and I think that creates a problem for people who are creative, because you often feel like you're on the outskirts of what is considered maybe normal or acceptable, right? But I think it's important, it's imperative that we begin to give our children examples of how their creative expression taps into the things that they might consider more conventional educational models. Using visual art as a form of language to talk about issues in society, that might deal with politics or social studies, or using music to talk about writing and language. A good friend of mine, Scott Heath, goes around teaching and lecturing about the fact that this is the height of literary works within the Black community, and that's due 100% to hip-hop music. There's so many people writing now, writing poetry, writing lyrics, writing words, using metaphor, using language in ways that has not really ever been seen before, and that can be attributed to music. So when we begin to think about these more conventional areas of study within education and creative expression, and find ways to marry them, I think that's where we solve this issue of trying to coerce our children to read your books and do your homework. They got to see that it benefits them.
Right, and it's like that's the challenge, because he has an essay to do about. I mean, he's in an African-centered school, but it's still certain things that he has to complete that is not involving his artistic, creative expression in a way that makes him interested in it, right. And so that's the issue. Like what you're speaking about too has to also do with how the schools are dealing with that, and that's very, like you said, it's imperative that we're able to, because that's how we keep our children's attention when they are more right-brained, or when they're really artistic and their focus is wanting to express themselves in that way.
Yeah, I mean, like as a matter of fact, my own dissertation actually privileges visual imagery over traditional writing, and so in that particular project, the works, the actual paintings themselves are the text. So rather than trying to write and describe through words what these paintings are doing, I let the paintings do what they do, because they can operate on a register and a level of cognition and understanding that writing it or trying to describe it may not be able to do successfully. And so we have to figure out ways to make these things relevant to our children, be able to show them examples of themselves excelling in these areas, so that they don't feel like it's foreign, like it's a chore. That they see that they're connected to that they're a part of a legacy. That's right.
Fahamu Pecou.
That's my name.
And what's the website?
The website again is fahamupecouart.com. FAHAMUPECOUART.com.
All right, and he will be at the BobFest Film Festival, the Africa Unite Film Festival, presenting his short film, Is that Emmett Still?
Emmett Still.
That's what it'll be called, Emmett Still. So that will be Saturday, February 17th, Auburn Research Library. That is all day from like 11 to 7. Yes. So BobFestATL.com is the website to find out more information about that event and all of the events for the BobFest. All right. I want you to stay tuned.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Peace and love. InI Radio.